All right, so today I'll be presenting on workplace productivity. And again, if we haven't met, my name is Hannah McClure. I'm the program coordinator for CED, and so we do regional economic and entrepreneurial development. So that is what our program is about. And I saw a similar presentation a few months ago, and it was really helpful for me to start putting practices into place to be more productive and keep track of the number of tasks I have going on. And I thought, this would be a really helpful thing, hopefully for others to start implementing and start thinking about. So that's what we'll be talking about today, really just having a set method in place so you can be productive and not lose track of stuff. So I'll say this is going to be a shorter webinar. It's not going to be the full hour. So there'll certainly be times if you have questions or we want to have some discussion and feedback, there's definitely time for that. And then we should definitely be done before 10. So, okay, first of all, why does it even matter being productive, or why do we maybe need to have a method in place for keeping track of projects and tasks? So really kind of the first one is just reliability, right? So all of us are responsible for a lot of programs. We have a lot of colleagues we work with. We have a lot of demands on our time and people asking us to do things. And we want to be able to meet those deadlines and requirements and be a good teammate and a good colleague. So really just having this method in place helps us become more reliable. And that's good for future relationships as well. If we know that we're, as a team, we're able to get things done when we say we will, that just makes us more reliable as well. And also productivity, right? So there's a lot happening, and if I lose track of what I need to be doing that day, I'm really not going to be as productive. If I don't have a method for capturing all the stuff I need to do, something's going to fall off the plate, and that has happened before. So if you have a system in place, it really does help you be more productive. And I had a creativity as well, so I think it's also important. There's times where there's a problem and you need to do some really strategic creative thinking, or you're trying to set goals for the next year, and so you need to have a clearer headspace to think about those things. So really my mind is not a great place to keep track of all of these to-do lists, because something is going to be missing. I'm going to be stressed and I can't think about it because my head is just thinking about all I need to do. So if I'm able to get all of those things out of my brain into this system where I'm not going to lose them, that frees up me to think more creatively and strategically as well. And lastly, it also helps us protect our leisure time, right? So there are times, maybe it's a Saturday and you're at home with your family or you're on vacation. You want to know that you're not forgetting something, right? Or something pops up, you're like, oh yeah, I need to send that email to someone. Like, okay, I'm going to put it down, put it on my list, then I can set it down and I can get back to enjoying time outside of work. And so I think that's another great thing too. You're really able to be focused on, when you're at work, you're focused on work. And if there's something you're doing for fun, it lets you be able to step away and enjoy that more as well. All right, so the method today is really mostly from a book called Getting Things Done by David Allen. And he has a whole method for just productivity, right? So there's really these 5 steps to his full method. Today, I'm really only going to be touching on the first 2, capture and clarify, but he has a much larger process as well. But okay, so capturing is this first one. So how are we getting all of the tasks that we need to do? How are they coming towards us? How are we getting those and processing them? So clarify would be identifying, okay, what is this task? What do I need to do with it? Is it useful? Is it not? What do we do? Organize would be after, okay, I've been capturing and clarifying for a bit. Now I really need to organize it and think about, is this the best method? Has what I've been doing really worked? Maybe I need to think about how I manage my email differently. And then that also kind of leads into this reflect. Okay, you have a system, you've been trying it. what needs to change. It keeps it fresh and relevant for you. And again, kind of the last one, engage, is a lot deeper critical thinking about, okay, I have all these steps in front of me. What is the best thing, my best choice for what I should be working on next? So that's kind of a deeper reflection. If you're already super productive and you want to be even more, then you can spend time thinking about, okay, how am I focusing my time and on what tasks is that really most important? Okay, so I'm gonna run you guys through this process. I apologize, there's gonna be a lot of boxes. I'm gonna try to walk you through it. It'd be really nice if there was a whiteboard and I was drawing these, but it's okay. I think this will work. We'll go through the process, but I'll of course send this out to you guys afterwards too. But really, okay, so first step though, we do have a lot of stuff. We have a lot of things coming at us all of the time. Probably more like notifications and emails and ideas that we're receiving, like more than our parents would have gotten. You know, in our normal week, the amount of things we get, yeah, probably more than people used to get previously. So really, so what are some ways that we get this information? And I think the first is emails, right? Like we're constantly getting information sent to us by email. We get reminders about upcoming events. We get emails requesting us to meet someone for the first time, or, hey, we're thinking about this project, can you guys do this? So we get a ton of emails, electronic information. All right, so then we also have stuff that happens in our life that's just kind of a physical reminder of like, oh, this is something I need to do. Like, oh, man, the light bulb just burnt out. I need to go replace the light bulb. Or then you go to your closet, you're like, oh man, we're out of light bulbs. Wait, actually, I need to go buy light bulbs. Another physical reminder is like, oh man, like I have, like my back is really hurting. Like maybe I need to schedule time to go to a chiropractor. So even there's physical things that are just reminders of stuff we need to do. We also have lots of in-person conversations. So a colleague might pop into your office and ask you to meet with them later on that day, or say, hey, I really would like a copy of this webinar you did. Can you send that to me? So there's in-person conversations and tasks that we need to remember to do, but I'm sure all of you are this way. I've done it several times. Someone tells me they want me to do something, we're talking, I walk away, 10 minutes later, I'm like, shoot, what was I supposed to send them? I don't remember anymore. So if I have a better system in place, I'm going to hopefully remember that easier. All right, and then the last one I just kind of call an entry, a general, other like physical things we may get. So this could be bills we get in the mail, and yeah, just other physical or electronic things that are coming at us. So just in general, all the other stuff. Okay, so really again, like if possible, we want to get that out of our head and into a system so it's there, we have a record of it, we're not gonna forget it. Another tip as well is to not add more boxes. So I sometimes, I have a work email and a personal email, and I've created an email for a nonprofit that I spend a lot of time with. And not that I've been reading this, maybe that's not the best thing. I don't necessarily want to be adding more boxes of ways of getting information. I really be more strategic about how am I getting that information and processing it. So adding more boxes isn't always the best next step. Okay, so all of this information we're coming through, we need to think about what do we do with all of these tasks? How are we gonna handle them? Okay, so they're all coming to this in basket. So really then the next thing is you have to ask yourself, okay, what is this information I'm getting? And is it something I need to take action on? Okay, so for example, you get an email announcement from the chancellor. There's an event coming up. You check your calendar, you can't go. Okay, like, great. Maybe that's something you do, something you don't do. But we do get a lot of information that is great to know, but we don't necessarily have to go and do something. Or like, hey, the new policy for travel is XYZ. Good, I need to know it, but I maybe don't need to do anything with it. Other emails that are actionable, like, hey, I need to send me this report. Yes, there is an action I need to take personally. So with the first one, no, there's no action. So then there are these 3 other options of what we can do with that information once we've decided there isn't an action for me to take. So the first one is this someday maybe pile. So it's a little bit trickier, right? So there could be an email well, okay, so for example, we are hiring a new colleague. They're starting in January. And when he starts, we need to buy a software program for him. All right, so I have an email about that. Well, is there an action? Like, yes, but it's not something I need to do today, but maybe I need to think about it in a month. So I could create a someday or a maybe folder of like, okay, someday soon, I need to think about this, but not right away. So in the book, he explains a tickler file, which maybe some of you are familiar with that. I was not. So his suggestion was, or what a tickler file originally is okay, it's a way of keeping track of physical things I need to do. So I get a bill, it's an invoice that's not due for 3 months. I need to set it in a folder so I will review it in next month. So so it's a folder set, every day of the week, and then every month has its own folder too. So it's December now, I need to pay this bill in February. I'm going to put it in my February folder. So then when I'm going through this file every day, I open up February and I see, oh, here's all the things I need to take care of this month. It's a way of keeping track of those physical reminders of what we need to do. Another example of a someday or maybe is kind of, okay, what are these big projects I don't really need to think about, but I still want to have it in my mind. So it could be like, oh, there's this annual conference in Kentucky that I might want to go to. Like, okay, maybe I want to go to that someday. Great. I don't need to be thinking about it all the time, but I want to be reminded later. So we can keep track of all those someday or maybe type topics. Okay, and then another thing that we can keep track of would be things we want to have as a reference later on. So someone sends me an article about entrepreneurship and it's really valuable and I think I need to use it someday, but I don't need to use it right now. Okay, so let's set up a reference system so I can go back and find that information later on if I need it. And I'll say the first time I heard this presentation, like that was a big thing that stuck out to me of like, oh, that would be so useful. I don't have a good reference system in place to go back and refer to other information I need, right? So this, I mean, it could be your manuals for all of your appliances could go in your reference. I keep reference of some projects that I'm doing and, suggestions from other people, but I don't have a good reference system in place. But if I did, great, man, now I can go back to this information I received a while ago, and it's going to be useful to me in the future. So that is what you can do with information you don't need, but it might be useful someday. Keep it in a reference system. All right, and then the last one is kind of the simple, easy thing to do. I get something, I don't need to do anything with it. It doesn't pertain to me. It's not really important to anyone else that I need to forward it to them. What I can do is just delete it, be done with it. I don't have to worry about it anymore. I've gotten a lot better about just deleting emails that are unnecessary. So, right. Okay, the next thing we're going to talk about, is it actionable? And yes, like there is something I need to do with this item. Okay, so moving on. So really then the question becomes, what's the next step that I need to do? What's this next action? So there's really two categories, right? So sometimes there's just one step. It's a simple project. I need to write this letter, and there's only one thing I need to do. Other times, it's a multi-step project, right? So he defines a project as anything that has more than one step, and I'm going to be doing it within the next year. So that's, I mean, that's a lot of projects if you kind of define it that way. But there is a whole nother system if there's these multi-step projects. So for example, I could have on my list that I want to learn to play an instrument. That's great, but that's not a one-step process. So I'm not going to be able to pick up a banjo today and play a song. Not going to happen. So then you really need to think about like, okay, what is that first step? Well, maybe the first step is I even buy a banjo. That would be the first step. So in the book, and I'm not going to get this into it today because it's a whole other topic, but he talks about projects and planning those projects. And then once you have a project plan in place, that is where you go to review your actions and figure out what your next step is, right? So the banjo example. I have this project I want to do. I have a plan for how I'm going to do it. Now I need to look at that plan and get actions. So that would be your step for multi-step projects. So the other one is, what's the next action if it's really just one step or if it's simple? So, and then there's someone, sorry, I'm just gonna say, I don't know if someone's muted or unmuted right now there, but anyway, great, okay. Thanks for doing that. Okay, and then the next one is what's the next action? Okay, if it's really just a one-step, very simple action or task. Okay, so the next question is, will it take less than 2 minutes, yes or no? If the answer to that is yes, then right then, just go ahead, do it, get it done, and move on to the next thing. And this, I think, could be a really big takeaway of managing time and tasks as well. If it's something simple, you can get it done, move on, and then you don't have to think about it anymore. You can get back to the tasks that really demand your attention. So if it takes less than 2 minutes, just go ahead, do it right then, move on to the next thing. All right, so then what about tasks that don't take less than 2 minutes, which, I mean, is going to be most of the work, right? If you need to be focusing on creating a budget for a project, that's going to take some time and you need some time to think about that. So, okay, so if it takes less than 2 minutes, what can you do? Really, the two options then are to delegate it or defer it. So delegating it, giving it to someone else, maybe it's something that needs to be done, but you're not the best person for it, or maybe you need someone else's input before you can do something on it, right? So that'd be delegate it. And then defer it. Then there's really two ways to think about that. Okay, we have a calendar we can use, or we can create a list of our next action steps that we want to be taking. So the difference between a calendar and next action. So next actions would be, here's the list of things that are priority. I'm working on these. These are my next steps. Those are the kind of the things you know you need to get done sooner, and as soon as you can get to it. And then a calendar would be, okay, these are the tasks that I need to schedule, or they need to happen on a specific day. So, you know, most often, okay, I need to have a meeting with these two people, need to find when they're available. They're out of town Friday. Okay, we need to plan this for Thursday. Let's put it on our calendar, plan it. Then we know it's going to happen. And sometimes the calendar can be used for like, oh yeah, on December 1st, that's when all these bills are due. I know I need to look at them on this day. So those are kind of the two different things. Calendar, if it has to be on a specific day. Next actions, not a specific day, but I do need to do it pretty much as soon as I can. All right, and then the last one I said delegate. Really your next step with that is if you've given it to someone else, at that point, you're waiting for feedback from them before you can move on and do something else. So that is kind of just the overview of this method of thinking about tasks coming in and starting to put systems in place to process them. And so you know what to do with them. And I do have a few other kind of delegation ideas and tools I want to talk through. But at this point, I just wanted to pause and just see if there's any questions or feedback. I will say, like, I'm not a pro at this. I don't have this system in place. It's something I'm learning and starting to implement. So hopefully it has been valuable to me to start thinking about some of these things. But even kind of in preparing for this, I'm realizing like, oh man, there's a lot of other things I could be doing differently, or I need to actually get a process in place. But kind of pause here for a moment if there are any questions or feedback, or if someone has had experience doing this as well, your thoughts are welcome too.
Yeah, thanks for presenting on this topic.
Oh,
You
you're
know,
welcome, Chris.
well, I think it's funny, you know, like thinking about the Covey information that we were, you know, that we worked with at the conference. You know, it really opened my eyes to thinking that, you know, being efficient on this stuff is more than just, you know, trying to keep down frustration. It deals with trust, right? I mean, people, you can be the most transparent person in the world, and people cannot trust you if you don't follow through, if you are disorganized. I was wondering if your resources gave you any, it's kind of is a nice little flow chart, but sometimes I think the difficulty is revisiting things, right? So if something gets in the someday maybe category, you know, it tends to sit at the bottom of my list, and it keeps tumbling down as more urgent things always seem to pop up. And I didn't know if it gave any interesting words of wisdom on how to take things that are things that aspirational things or things you like to do, but just always seem to be pushed down by, you know, seemingly more urgent requests. To not let them get lost.
I totally understand that. Happens to me. So his suggestion for it was the projects and the someday maybe. The projects would be like, okay, things we're going to be looking at this every single week. To kind of prompt our memory. And I think the someday and the maybe list, I think that was his recommendation as well. Like maybe it's a monthly thing you're looking at it, or each week you're kind of reviewing it, and just that continual reminding yourself, oh yeah, this is something I want to think about. Someday I really want to think about planning a vacation to Argentina next year. So if you do have a set time you're reviewing your lists, then that's going to be that kind of physical reminder to like start thinking about this again. Or maybe I do want to start planning that trip. Like, oh, I was planning to go next April, now it's February. Okay, that's my reminder. I really got to start thinking about it. So I think that I haven't read all, but I know that was one of them. Is just, okay, we're kind of organized. These things around the site are kind of like our different lists that we're keeping organized, but we want to be returning to them often enough to prompt ourselves to think about them. So I think that was his suggestion, is we have a list, but we need to be reviewing that periodically, so we do remind ourselves of what important things we want to do in the future. So I mean, like, I have a whiteboard in my office, right? And I can write something down, but if I never look at that list again, then it's just gone. And it's not useful. So I think it really is that actually going back and reviewing it process that would help. So good question. Are there any others?
I mean, I don't know if this is healthy. I found for me, it just works best. Like, I just have to work with our administrative assistant and have her periodically bug me. I mean, I know it sounds maybe juvenile, but like, it's just because it's, you know, a static list just sitting in a room, you know, even on a whiteboard. To me, it's so easy to get distracted, especially in the world of email. It's just never nonstop. That I really, it doesn't hurt to have someone who I mean, that's all she has to do is come back through and review the list with me. I mean, nothing more than that, but at least it like puts it up front and you're like accountable, you know, to it. I don't know if that's healthy or not. That's what I do.
No, I think that's a great idea. And actually, so one thing our team does as well that's been helpful to me, we do a weekly check-in on Monday mornings and email it to our team members. And that's been helpful to me because it makes me sit down, look at my calendar for the next week, look at my to-do list and be like, oh yeah, I forgot I have a meeting Monday and Wednesday afternoon and Friday morning. Like, oh yeah, this deadline is Friday. Here are all the things I need to do. So yeah, so whether that's like meeting with an assistant or another colleague, but I think you're right, having another person you kind of are accountable to can really help with that, because then like, oh, I know my team needs to know what I'm doing this week. I guess I better figure out what I'm doing this week as well. So yeah, it's true.
I try to schedule a cleanup day once a month, and it doesn't always happen for the whole day. But it includes everything from hard copy to folders that I have set aside to email, and try to clean it up and address any invoices or anything like that that's outstanding. And that helps me. I schedule it usually the same day every month, usually when I have council.
That's a good, so it's just a consistent day each month. And how long do you schedule for that? I mean, is it like a full day? Is it a few hours, or what's been useful for you?
It really depends. Different times a year, it's longer or shorter. This time of year, it's usually pretty short.
Yeah.
But, usually 2 to 3 hours at least. And it could be a lot more, but that's usually how much time I have. So
yeah, no, I think that's a great idea. And I do know another suggestion with this one was, okay, if you're going to be starting this system, you really have to take maybe a day or two and just go through all of those inboxes, all of those things, and figure out what all of your tasks are before you can even start doing it. So kind of like a major cleanup to even get started on it. And yeah, that does take time, but I do like that idea of, okay, a monthly check-in. This is, I need to go through and go through things that need to address. Great. Any other tips or questions from people?
Hannah, this is Jackie.
Hi, Jackie. Yeah.
Hello. I might add that when you're doing this, I've used this process, not quite this process, but something similar for many years. And what you can do in Outlook is amazing if you just take the time to set it up. And, you know, I've seen a lot of folks that have these inboxes that are just one email after another. I organize my inbox by those categories. I have a category of needs attention now. So everything stays in my inbox and doesn't get filed on the side until it's done. Okay. And so I have several different folders in that inbox. Needs my attention, it's not important. So kind of falls into that someday maybe. And then I have, you know, meetings that I'm coordinating, future appointments that I have to have that email to go to. And if something comes in that it goes to my calendar, there's a function in Outlook that you can send it right to your calendar, which makes it really, really easy to schedule those.
Yeah.
And so you know, it's amazing what you can do in Outlook. And if anybody's interested, I'd be more than willing to share how I kind of set that up. Things come in. I have rules set that things go right to a "this is new, you need to read it" folder, and things that are unimportant, like kind of just some random automatic communication, goes straight to a folder on the sidebar, because I don't even need to look at them, because they're just notifications that somebody posted something somewhere. So rules are really cool too, but you know, I'd be more than happy to share that with anyone if they're interested in that process.
Yeah, especially like the idea of if there's an Outlook event and I need to drag emails or things I need to reference before that meeting, that's a good tip. I've used that some, but not probably not as much as I could. But yeah, exactly. You're like, oh, that email, what was it we were going to talk about, or what's the agenda for this? Need to remind myself before I meet with this person. So yeah, definitely. Thanks. All right. Anyone else? Okay, awesome. Thanks, guys, for your feedback. So the next thing I'm going to go over is just a simple, another simple tool I've heard and used when I think about how to delegate tasks as well. And I know some of you have heard me talk about this before, probably have heard it in other presentations, but it's a good reminder as well. Okay, so it's called the Eisenhower Matrix. After President Eisenhower, he came up with it. So it's breaking tasks into these 4 categories, and there's really these 2 scales. Okay, so it's important for me to do these tasks, or it's not important for me to do it, or it's important to our organization, maybe it's not important to our organization. There's also tasks that are urgent and things that are not necessarily urgent. So that first box, the upper left in the green, important and urgent. So these are going to be the tasks that you kind of do want to focus on first. So these are things that need to be done that same day. So, and it's important that you're the one to do it, right? So for example, today, I'm going to get an email notification that the webinar recording from this is available. That's something I want to try and get done today. And it's important that I do it because I'm the only one with access to the webinar because it's in my account. So that's an important and an urgent task because it needs to be done. Other tasks that fall into this category are those unexpected urgency things. So things you hadn't planned to do, but they came up. So maybe you had a missed call from someone and you need to call them back because you know they might be calling about a project. Just those unexpected urgent requests can fall into there as well. Okay, and then going to the right, we have important and not urgent. So these are still tasks that are important for you to do, but it doesn't have to happen today. So these are things we don't want to forget about, so you want to go ahead and schedule those. So kind of in that, in the calendar, or those next action step ideas. So this could be, like I said, like, okay, there's this meeting I need to have with this group of people. We're working on this project together, so we need to meet, but not today. Let's go ahead and schedule that. Or maybe you have a big paper that you're writing, and you know you're going to need to block off some time so you can focus on working on it. Doesn't have to happen today, but you still want to do it. Maybe you need to schedule time for yourself to do that. Or like Darla, she schedules time for her to have her cleanup day. So she schedules that herself. All right, and then bottom left would be things that are not important that you necessarily do it, but it still is urgent and someone needs to do it. So these are tasks that can easily be delegated to others. So we have a Facebook page for CED, and it's important that we post on that regularly. It's not necessarily important that I'm the one to do it. I may be the one to review those posts, but that's something we have our undergraduate students work on. So those are great tasks we can think about and delegate to other people. And lastly, then there's also tasks that are not important and not urgent. Those are things we want to kind of eliminate them. We don't want to do them. For example, oh, Chris, I think you're unmuted, if you don't mind, real quickly.
Sorry.
That's okay. You're good. I only know it's you because your name popped up, so you're good. No worries. So again, not important, not urgent. For example, I don't need to be planning my next vacation next summer. That might be kind of a fun thing to do, but that's not really important to work. It's also not urgent. So those are just kind of tasks we want to eliminate from our day, if at all possible. All right, so then I just want to go over kind of quickly, what are some different tools that we can use to start getting a process in place and keeping ourselves organized? And Jackie mentioned the Outlook calendar. Calendars, I mean, are kind of an obvious one, but keeping track, and you can see, okay, what are my upcoming meetings, upcoming events, what's coming up. So if you don't use a calendar, certainly start doing that. I myself am also, I like to write things out and keep paper lists of things, or if I'm in a meeting, that's how I like taking notes. So keeping a paper portfolio with you, if you have a spiral bound journal, something you have with you so you can capture ideas and tasks and things that you need to do. And a planner, little bit different than a calendar in the sense of, okay, it's broken out the day by day. In my planner, I can write the tasks for the day. There's just more space to track things. And I have heard some great planners. I haven't purchased one myself. If you guys want to know, I can ask the person I heard this presentation from. They had a great list of planners and list apps. For example, I didn't have a reference system in place, so all the things I wrote down at that presentation, I've lost. So that's why I need to have a reference system in place. So anyway, he had some great suggestions about very specific planners that if you're really wanting to get organized or focused on a new project and you need a system in place to help you do that, you can use these planners. There were also some list and program management apps that you can use on your phone and your computer, and they mentioned, I think the two were Asana and Trello were the name of them. I'm not familiar with them at all. If someone else is and they want to share about it, that's great. But those are two I've heard of that are good electronic apps for keeping track of things. Again, I'm just a pen and paper type person. So, and lastly, one thing that was helpful for me, like I said, is a whiteboard. That was something we bought for our office, and it's been very helpful. Now I'm kind of going back and thinking like, oh, okay, maybe I need to organize my whiteboard differently to make it more useful. But having a place where I can write projects down, my next steps, and it's just so nice when it's done, you're totally done with the project, you can just close it, that open loop, and just erase it. It's really nice as well. All right, I think, yeah, all right. So kind of the last bit of it, just wanted you guys to have a moment to think about, okay, getting started. So we all think about, okay, what are one or two takeaways from this that I want to start implementing? And like I shared before, my two big takeaways when I first heard this was, okay, tasks that are less than 2 minutes, I can just do those right then, move on, and get done with it. And then the other one was having a reference system in place. Like, okay, my takeaway is I really need to spend some time thinking about building a reference file. Okay, and then the next step as well from the book is what he calls inbox zero. So going through all the emails, all of the little nagging things in my head of all these things I need to do, getting all of those things coming at you at zero. And now I've processed all of them and I know all of my to-do lists. I've been able to get my inbox down to zero like once or twice in the last 5 years. And I know some people are great, like they have 3 emails in their inbox, but so that's kind of something I'm working towards. But when I have been able to do that, it is amazing that then as emails come in, it's like, oh, I can address this now, or yeah, you can read it now and then do it. So, and I guess another thing I just remembered, I wanted to mention it earlier and forgot, something I've might start thinking about when it does come to email. Sometimes even just reading an email and trying to process what is in it will take longer than 2 minutes because there's a lot in it. You're trying to understand what a person is saying. And there are times where I need to just set aside time to like process through email. Or I don't want my email to be distracting me from this actually really important task I need to do today. So maybe I'm setting this boundary of 20 minutes, I'm working on this task. When I take a break in 20 minutes, then I'll look at my emails and process that. So I think you guys will know for yourself what is necessary, but there are times when even just like processing an email will take longer than 2 minutes. So maybe I need to wait until I'm done focusing on my current task. So just another personal tip. So here's the book I talked about. again, I did not touch on everything in the book whatsoever. He has a lot more detail about, I mean, even there's details about how you set up an office and get it, all of the things that you need. But there is a lot more about the, like I said, project management, creating project plans, and then even like the deeper level thinking of, okay, I have this system in place, how do I make the best decision in the moment? So there is a lot of great information in there. I bought it, like $15–20, I think is how much I paid for it. But anyway, is a great reference if you guys are interested in digging in and learning more. There's a lot in there. And then again, the Eisenhower Matrix, there's the website for it. So that is what I've got for you guys today. There's a few minutes left. If there's any other thoughts, questions, or tips people want to share, you're welcome to it. But otherwise, that's all I got.